Welcome into another edition of Nate Hit the Foul Pole. I am Matthew Pine, along with my co-host Zach Goodman. Zach, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, and we got Toby Welk in here as well, Orioles prospects. So how you doing, Toby?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good.
Good. How you holding up there in quarantine?
It's a mental grind for sure. Just trying to stay in the gym, trying to get as much work done as possible, taking some swings, just stay in the swing of it whenever it comes back.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So today we're gonna, talk about your road to the show, how you got where you are right now, and when you think you're gonna be there. So we're just gonna ask you some, quick questions about what's gonna happen. So, what was your initial reaction being drafted by the Orioles? Were you happy? Were you surprised? Have they, contacted you before that?
Yeah, they did contact me before that. I went to a pre-draft workout, and a couple other teams contacted me too. But I definitely wanted to go to the O's because of the whole rebuilding process and seeing what Elias did with the Astros and everything. It was it's a great opportunity to get to the big leagues, maybe at a partially accelerated level, but there's openings. You just go play and prove what we can do.
Yeah, I think we lack, a lot of infield depth in this organization. So getting you last year definitely helps that out a lot. Now, you came out of a D3 school, which, there aren't a ton of prospects drafted out of D3 schools. Do you think that the expectations for you are higher or lower being drafted out of a D3 school?
I wouldn't say there's any difference. I think once you get there, it's it's kind of a level playing field. I would say the speculation comes from more of like the fans and the people who analyze it. They're expecting obviously a lower performance because of a D3 player, but I get in with those guys and we go to work, and it's just we're all in the same organization now. We're all they're trying to get to the same goal.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Aberdeen last year, almost every home game, and you were the star of the team. You probably did better than almost everyone. Hit third in the lineup every day, so I'd say it worked out pretty well for the Orioles, taking you in the 21st round.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to play with the best in the country. It's a blast. You can't ask for anything more. It's everybody's dream.
Have you had any contact or reached out to any former Division III players? I know like Anthony Recker, guys like Joe Nathan, came out of Division III.
No, I haven't actually reached out really to anybody. I've just kind of been going with my group of guys, and a couple of the guys that helped me in college with hitting and everything like that. Just kind of trying to stay after it and keep up with my current teammates and my past teammates, and just going it, about it that way as opposed to reaching out. If they do, I'd love to hear what their story was with the minors and all that whole grind up.
Now, did you have any offers come out of high school other than D3 offers or?
No, actually, I didn't. I was I kind of just picked to go to Berks for the engineering degree because I was looking forward to. I was looking forward to go to school, and to have fun with baseball, but also get a good education out of it.
Smart man. What did you initially notice about the level of competition between D3 and A ball?
Right away, the speed of the game. Everybody's just, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's just flying along. With D3, it's almost the pace is a little slower. You get that ground ball in the infield, and you got that extra time. Take a shuffle, throw the guy out. But pro ball, you get it. And it's really easy to get rushed because everybody can run, everybody can swing it. So I would say probably the pace of play is just a lot higher.
And did you notice a change in the pitching? Better curveballs, better fastballs, more break from you went all the way up to Delmarva from D3.
Yeah, no, it was a rude awakening for sure. The velo right away. I was worried most about velo. I could always see spin on curveballs, and obviously the off speed was way better. But seeing that mid 90s velo as opposed to mid to upper 80s at best at D3 was definitely a big switch.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I talked about Delmarva a minute ago, and you have been in both Aberdeen and Delmarva so far. What was your favorite city? What stadium did you like more?
I would say you said between Aberdeen and Delmarva, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely Aberdeen Stadium for sure, just because it was, that Rip King complex and everything. To see that, it's almost like a AAA stadium at the short season level, which was it was an unreal experience.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best. Definitely a great, game day experience for sure. So, what do you see your ETA as? Do you see, maybe 2022, something like that? You're a college bat, so obviously you're a little bit more, polished than a lot of the players coming out of the draft. But when do you see yourself breaking into the majors?
As soon as possible, honestly. I don't have really an ETA. I'm just focusing on what I have to do, in the coming days, what I have to do tomorrow to get better, to prepare for it. I mean, it's out of my control technically. So, I mean, I'm not the decision maker in that whole organization as to whether I get there or not. I'm just going to work as hard as I can day to day.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, noticing on some of the shows and going to some Aberdeen games, I noticed that you're pretty close to Adley Rutschman. What do you think makes that bond between you two so strong? Is it just like similar interests, or?
Yeah, I think it's we both are, kids that love to go out and play baseball, love it every day, love showing up to the stadium, getting that extra work in. Just being able to be close to him has been cool. That bond, like we're both goofy kids, we both like to laugh a lot and not take each other too seriously. And then kind of at first when you look at him, it's like, oh, it's Adley, you know what I mean? But then we had that first conversation and we just started loosening up, walking out to the game together, just laughing and having a good time, making jokes about how many people there to sign autographs for him. It's just, and that just kind of clicked from there.
It was crazy last year when Adley arrived at Aberdeen. The police had to escort him out to his car and everything. It was Adley mania last year for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild, man. I've never seen anything like that.
I haven't either, but he's a great person to learn from for sure.
Yep. Yeah, he's very deserving of that.
Do you have any other teammates that you are particularly close with, or that you, like you mentioned earlier, you have the same group of guys?
Yeah, no, I got Watson was actually my roommate in spring training, Zach Watson. And he's a great kid. He's got a sweet car. I always loved his car when he was at Aberdeen. He used to go out there and check it out. And then Kyle Stowers and Dashbach and Hanley, that whole Stanford group, they're great kids, really positive, love to have a good time and laugh too. Riser and everybody's pretty close. I wasn't expecting to have like a close-knit group of friends like this coming into pro ball.
Yeah, we kind of heard the same thing when we interviewed Willie Yan a few weeks ago, that, it's just a really, close-knit group of guys with the Orioles, and that's the kind of culture we're awesome. Building here, which is a really good thing for sure.
So obviously your off-season workouts look a little bit differently now, and now that we're into the season, what does your kind of workout regimen look like?
We actually have a training app that we use. It's I use, a lot of body weight stuff. It's mostly body weight stuff, but then I do have a barbell and a set of weights, thankfully, that I've been able to use, just trying to pound out the power lifts, get the most out of, this time that we can. But that's pretty much it. Just trying to stay in shape, get some sprints in too with that app. They help us with that. So it's been helpful. It's been easy to stay in shape and stay on track.
Now, have you used at all like the radar that they put on the bats, like during games, like, forget the blast motion? Have you used blast motion?
Oh yeah, we used blast motion all last summer and in Delmarva too. That was a whole, new concept for everybody. Having that thing on the end of your bat. It's like, oh geez, trying to go into a game and trying to hit with that is different for sure. But it definitely helps read all kinds of approaches to hitting.
Yeah, and speaking of the analytics and stuff like that, did you see an increase in analytics when you went to Delmarva from Aberdeen, or is that just kind of stay stagnant?
It was the same kind of thing. We were both using the blast motion and TrackMan.
So do you like look at that stuff and like try to mirror your game after it? I know, like, listening to some interviews last year after you were drafted, I know Sig Mejdal, who's the assistant GM of the Orioles, had mentioned your name, and he said, you were one of those guys who perform positively with analytics. Do you look at that stuff at all?
The analytics side of the game, I feel like, is more for the coaches to, implement into our swings, as opposed to us trying to focus on that while we're hitting as much. It's more of a, working on the side and saying, hey, your attack angle sucks on this kind of pitch. We gotta work on that. You know what I mean? Stay behind the ball and get on plane earlier, as opposed to try and swing it down at the ball or something like that. I'm just trying to focus on keeping the swing consistent and smooth, and then kind of let them handle it, as opposed to me over analyzing and trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong every swing.
Yeah, and talking with player development directors around the league, especially I talked to some in Cleveland and Cincinnati. They said that player development for generally prospects is more gradual, and they don't just tell you immediately that this you're doing wrong or this you're doing wrong. Do you see it with the Orioles as more gradual, or do you see them being more upfront about it?
It's definitely, I would say it's more of a growth mindset type of approach, to really pounding that. We don't want to be afraid to fail when we're out there and screw up and make an error or something, misfield a ball. Like, it's more of a, okay, learn from that, as opposed to what are you doing and yelling and screaming and just stressing us out even more. It's a great approach. Learn new things, learn new concepts with infield and hitting and everything else.
Yeah, for sure. So, the MLB draft is obviously going to be a little bit different this year, only 5 rounds instead of 40. So obviously there aren't going to be as many guys drafted, only around 150 or so. But what would your advice be to especially D3 guys that, are looking to get drafted this year?
I would say don't stress about it too much. Just do what you can, do what you can control. You know what I mean? Focus on, being the best player you can be. And if it happens, it happens. And, you put everything out on the line if it doesn't.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Looks like we have a question coming in from our friend Justin. It says, hey, Toby, big fan. What is something about your game that you really take pride in?
I really take pride in being able to make contact with the ball. Being able to, handle that situation. The guy's got a great slider. The guy's got a great changeup, or he's really, he dots up. Just trying to be able to make contact and compete with the pitcher and stay in the at-bat.
Yeah, from what I saw last year, I mean, you basically put almost, most balls in play, didn't strike out a lot. So it's definitely, you do a lot of contact hitting for sure.
Well, Toby, we certainly wish you the best of luck, and hopefully there is a minor league season this year that you can, it can help your development 1 year further, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you in Baltimore.
Yeah, thank you guys. Me too. I'm looking to get there, man. It's a great experience.
All right, man. Stay safe out there.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. So that was our interview with Toby Welk. Obviously could be a big piece of the Orioles' future.
Yeah, I think that he's got a lot of tools that you look for in a player. I mean, a great defender. He's got a really good arm. He performed really well at Aberdeen last year. I don't think anyone expected him to be, a middle of the lineup guy that they would put in last year immediately from a D3 school, and that's what he became. I mean, the first couple games he started down in the 7 or 8 hole, and then they saw his talent and started moving him up in the lineup, and that's always a great thing. And he was a really good performer for them last year, and I think that wherever he goes in the next coming years, in Frederick and Bowie and AAA, with a guy who makes all that contact like that, plays a really solid defense, I think we'll see him in Baltimore before no time.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like one of those guys you can really root for. Like, if you're an Orioles fan and you want to follow the minor leagues, if the major league club isn't there, you can really follow this guy's story. He was a 21st round draft pick from a Division III school. Barely any of those players make it. So it's something that you could root for, and he's got a legit chance. I mean, it's not just, a good story to root for. He's got good talent.
Yeah, he definitely does. And it's not someone I expected ever to be in, here and talking about him as, one of the Orioles' best prospects, who maybe is outside of the top 30. I think that, I remember you talking about him last year. I think he's got a really bright future. And I think that if he keeps doing what he's doing and he keeps up and he keeps putting balls in play, I think the analytics will be in favor of that. And I think, Justin, I think that the analytics will be in favor of him, being in the majors pretty soon.
Yeah, should be interesting to see how it shakes out. And I like this idea with all the Aberdeen players get to move up together, and that's kind of special. I mean, you teach these guys, especially we saw it with Delmarva last year. You see these guys when they win together, they're going to transfer that to the big leagues.
Yeah, and being around a lot of the guys, it's definitely as close of a friend group, as he describes it as. I mean, they were all, always hanging out together. The whole team seemed like they got along. I'd see them playing, football or golf out, in the outfield before games, and they just had a lot of fun. It seems like, as they grow, obviously not all of them are going to make it, and not all of them will make it all the way through the minor leagues, but I think that a lot of them, especially Toby and obviously Adley, are going to have great success, and we'll see them soon.
Anything else, Zach, before we wrap this one up?
We could talk about MLB for a little bit. I know that
Sure.
Owners have just voted yes on the new proposal, so it seems that maybe we get some baseball back soon. I know we've talked about June and July being the target months in spring training and the season, so that's pretty exciting, and the owners have voted that yes. What do you think about some of the players like Bryce Harper and Blake Snell coming out and saying, I'm not going to play for less money. I want to, I don't want to put myself at this risk. I want to get all my money and, what was guaranteed to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough look, especially like so many people losing their jobs. It's kind of a tough look to say, well, I feel sorry for these guys. But, I mean, I kind of understand what they're saying. I think Blake Snell's point was almost more, virus related. But he was also in that camp that we deserve to get paid, not get a prorated amount. So it is what it is. It's just going to see if that's the majority feel that way, or if that's just a couple players being more vocal.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of players will probably share that view, unfortunately. But there'll also be, like you said, some players that won't. Bryce Harper is a big name. Same with Blake Snell. They're two guys that kind of can call the shots for a lot of the players who aren't as big names, and advise them on what to do. And it's not a great thing that these two have come out and said this, but I think that the owners will figure it out. Hopefully everyone comes to an agreement soon. The Players Association and the union, they're all there to help them out. So I think that we'll hopefully come to a conclusion soon, and we will have baseball back pretty soon.
Yeah, and I do want to say too that I think the money for Bryce Harper is a lot different than the money for Blake Snell or for another player. Like if you have a player like on a rookie deal and they're making $600,000, you pay the agent fees, you pay the taxes. It's a lot less than you think. But yeah, I totally get your point there.
Sure, and minor leaguers too, obviously, are going to be a big part of this. A lot of guys who could be on the taxi squad might say, I'm not getting paid enough to, be able to play either. And it's just, I think it's going to be a messy month until we get everything figured out and everyone comes to an agreement. But it should all work out. And I think that, based on the amount of money that MLB could lose, especially the owners being $4 billion loss, if this doesn't work out, then I think they're going to be forced to come to an agreement at some point. So hopefully that is the case.
Got a question in here from Justin. He said, are you guys worried about the potential development being held back for minor league prospects? Yeah, I think we kind of touched on this already in a previous podcast. I said, like, a guy like Cody Sedlock, some of these pitchers that are coming off these big years, how do they repeat that and how do they come back? Like, I think of a guy like John Means too, even though he's not a minor league player, but
yeah, I think that's pretty much the case. I think that's well said. And I mean, I do worry about some of the lower level guys. Maybe take a Darrell Hernandez or, a Gunnar Henderson who's really young and needs that early stage development right now to, before they're even 20 years old, to get to that, get over the hump from being a high school player to a professional player. And I think that those two and a lot of the high school players that were drafted last year or could be drafted this year are going to be the most affected. I don't think a guy like Adley, who is already super polished, is going to be that affected. Obviously we'd love to see him play, but if it can't happen, I don't think that's too much of a big deal for him. But the younger level guys and we're at the lower levels right now and who need that development, they're going to be the ones that I think will see the most issues develop with.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. I think that would about wrap up today's show. We definitely want to thank Toby Welk for coming on the show again. He gave us great content. It's good to kind of see the minor league perspective. I know we already had Willie Yellen on, but Toby Welk is, more of a top prospect, I would say. But just good to see his perspective on things, and a guy who's close to Adley Rutschman. So you never know, they could be playing with each other in the big leagues someday.
I hope so. It'd be nice.
Did want to give him a plug. Is if you want to follow him on Twitter, it's at TWelk22. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at FoulPolePod. Anything else before we wrap it up, Zach?
That's about it for me, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to our YouTube page, and we will talk to you next week.